From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I hope you are feeling the same. And it is time for the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles. So let's go ahead and jump into it. First things first, Chris Jones sitting out the first days of training camp due to contract. Will this affect the Chiefs' progress going into the season? Well, the Chiefs seem like they're a team that's a very focused on the task at hand type team. And pretty much they are in place right now to put themselves in a position to chase another championship and try to win their third championship in the last 5 years. So it's a very intriguing thought that they still haven't signed their top defensive guy. And it's literally like this every single time with the pass rusher for the Chiefs. Chris Jones is in the same book as Justin Houston not too long ago. Tamba Ali as well, too. Guys who are great pass rushers who can get to the quarterback, can do great things for their team, but at the end of the day, it's just not – they just always feel like they can replace that position. So it does – kind of make it to where Chris Jones wants to get his money, and he wants to get his money now, and he wants to make sure that they're in tune with each other before we start this next season. He feels a very integral part of them winning Super Bowls over the last few years and everything. And I have to agree with them on that point as well, too, because a lot of the accolades always go to Patrick Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes doesn't play defense. He plays offense. And there's some times where the defense has to bail Pat out. He's not always so quick to take care of his business. I know a lot of people get mad and, oh, you're hating. Boo, boo, boo. Come on, you guys watch the game. It's not hating when it's obvious stuff that happens. The guy's not perfect every time. And every time the guy is bad, he's really bad. So the defense has to kind of make up for that in certain instances as well, too. But at the end of the day, there's been times where they had no help from the offensive side of the ball and kept the game very intact. So there's a lot of things that they have to do to make sure that they can keep Chris happy. Because if they can't keep Chris happy, then we're going to have a real issue moving forward with this Kansas City defense. And if the Kansas City defense has issues this year, then there's going to be a lot of doubt that goes into a repeat Super Bowl championship or a repeat Super Bowl appearance, or even possibly a playoff appearance. Because honestly, at the end of the day, when you're a team that has a very high flight offense, you have to have above average defense. It doesn't matter. It won't work if you don't have above average defense. If you have an average defense or a mediocre defense, you'll just be a team that goes 8-9 or 9-8. You have to have a defense that can give you the idea that your offense doesn't have to do every single thing. And I feel like the Chiefs defense did not improve over the last year. And by you having this issue with Chris Jones not coming in for the start of camp, one of your leaders, not just one of your defensive leaders, but one of your team leaders, and he's not there. And then you're having kind of there's some feathers being ruffled a little bit in practice as well, too, as you saw the other day with Kelsey fighting a guy just because he kind of held on to the ball with him for a little bit. So I don't know, man. This Chiefs team is looking a little it's looking like there's some cracks in the armor here. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that because they think that it's the same old program, things like that. But teams do get comfortable when they get to the top. And I usually say by the time you get to the third Super Bowl in, say, a certain amount of time, this is when the regression begins. And I feel like this is about the starting point for the Chiefs. I know it sounds like a big, conspiracy and just, I might be just talking crazy right now because it's today and the season hasn't started. So we'll have to see exactly how things play out for the Chiefs. But right now, it's not a good start, in my opinion. So with that, let's go ahead and move forward and let's get into our next topic at hand. And we're still going to stay here in the NFL. And we're going to go to another AFC West team, and that's going to be the Raiders. The Raiders trying to build a new culture with the will of the fans have the patience to see it through. And I say the Raiders are trying to build a new culture because the whole commitment to excellence idea, I think, has left the building. The whole just win, baby, has left the building. Everything is where we're trying to build this thing up from the bottom up, and we're trying to do it a way that is not the Raider style of building a team. We're going to do it the way that the Patriots did. Even though the Patriots, literally, it only worked for one group of people with the Patriots. It worked for Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels, and Tom Brady. Everybody else was a employee of the situation, except for Robert Kraft. Everybody else could be removed and moved in, moving parts, all that stuff. So the Raiders are trying to duplicate somewhat that idea. I think it's the dumbest idea ever because the Raiders have grown their identities as the rebels of the NFL, a team that takes chances on guys that are, a little rough around the edges and things like that. A team that plays to a certain tune that their crowd loves. The Raiders are rebels at the end of the day. They're villains. They're not these superhero do everything the right way type of people at the end of the day. For every Superman, you need a Lex Luthor. And right now, the Raiders are trying to duplicate the Patriots, who are a Superman, a Batman, a superhero. And the Raiders are not that at all. The Raiders have really been able to grow their whole culture around the idea of being a Raider, the idea of being an outlaw, the idea of being a team that plays by its own rules. That's so fun to follow and so fun to watch. And the Raiders, I just feel like you're doing too much. You're not holding this coach accountable enough, in my opinion. And he literally ruined the team last year so he could get rid of Derek Carr. That was stupid. And then you really don't have Adams 100% in on anything that you want to do. You have a guy in Jimmy G who's just very happy to still be in the NFL because he knows that foot situation is a lot deeper than anybody's putting on it. Then you have Josh Jacobs, who can't get paid because they want to mess around with this guy's career and say that, we don't know if he's worth the price of admission, even though he was our best player last year and got 2,000 total yards and scored 16 some odd touchdowns for our team last year and was probably the only thing outside of Devontae Adams that we could rely on to give us points on the board. So, the Raiders are making a lot of elementary school moves, and they're looking really bad. And this is the big reasons why Mark Davis needs to really, really think about either selling the team or stepping down as the direct face of the Raiders. Because at the end of the day, the biggest problem, in my opinion, is his ego. He went to Vegas, and Vegas gave him the idea that he's this cool guy and that he's a part of the community, he's a part of the city, and all this good stuff. So come keep buying up a bunch of these money pits that we have, like the Aces. The Aces, yeah, you won a championship, but at the end of the day, they're not making money. You know, the NBA has to suffice every debt that's to that league, and that debt is massive. So, you know, it's just a lot of things that the Raiders have to look at. And I'm gonna keep it real with you. And I know it's not gonna sound pretty good to Raider Nation and things like that, but Raider Nation knows that the Raiders are absolute jokes right now. To be dead honest with you, and the Raiders to me are a 4-13 team at best. That's me being nice, to be honest. You know what I mean? Because we all know that silly coach is thinking about him getting a top three pick so he can go get himself a quarterback that he feels he can coach up. You know what? That's a bunch of hogwash, man. The guy isn't a good coach. It's that simple. The writing was on the wall in Denver. The writing was on the wall when he drafted Tim Tebow. Come on, man. The guy is just the absolute joke of a head coach. Now, offensive coordinating, putting some plays together, being able to talk to your quarterback, that's great. But other than that, Josh McDaniels is an absolute bum as a coach. And he's not running the Raiders right, and he's running the Raiders into the ground. It's that simple. And Mark Davis is assisting him on doing that. So they both need to go, to be honest. And hopefully the board for the Raiders do tell Mark Davis that this is going to be the last stand of you having total say, because we're going to have a meeting about this at the end of the year. And, you know, we don't know if you might still be the controlling partner, as you like to say, because there's people there that can buy him out right now as well, too. So with that, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic, and we're going to the NBA real quick. And Lillard told by Blazers to shut down Miami trade and confirm they will fine if request is broken. Is this proving division between the two? Well, I would say it all started on draft night because Lillard said, "Oh, I can play with Scoot. I can do this. I can do that." And then all of a sudden, Scoot gets drafted. Then he says, "Oh, I want to get traded now. I got to get traded." And the Blazers did this to me, and the Blazers promised this to me, and they did that for me, and they did, dude. They are letting you be the highest paid guy in the NBA right now. You're turning into Stephen Marbury, bro. Seriously, nobody understands where you're coming from anymore. You're just now you know that you got some type of control because you get on Twitter and you tell fans exactly how you feel. That doesn't mean that you really know what you're talking about. You're just doing this because you want some attention. You know that Dame Lillard is not considered a top 10 player in reality. Yeah, for the media, for everybody, for social media, for the highlight reels, for all that stuff, yeah, he's a top 10 guy. But when it comes to actually winning in this league, he's nowhere near being a top 10 guy. Period, point blank, at all. Guys like Damian Lillard, I can pass on if I'm a general manager. It's not a problem because you want team players. You want your leaders to be leaders. This guy leads by just scoring. And guys just fall in line with it because at the end of the day, they're kind of scared, you know, because you're the end all be all for the team. So you could go to the front office and say, I don't want to play with this guy, and he gets traded or the guy gets cut, things like that. But the Blazers put themselves in this position because they didn't hold their player accountable. That's the whole thing. They let their player feel that he was the only thing that they could ever have that would make their team even close to winning a championship, which was not true. You literally lost your best player as soon as he got there in LaMarcus Aldridge. If he could have just said, okay, LaMarcus, you're going to be the star, and I'm just going to fall in line with what you want to do, they would have been fine. They would have been in probably 2 or 3 finals by now. You know, because LaMarcus Aldridge could have been at the best point of his career, which he was going to at the moment. So he goes to the Spurs with the idea that he's going to be able to go off and win championships. He knew early on that he couldn't win championships with Damian Lillard. That should tell you something about Damian Lillard at the end of the day. And why would Pat Riley want to invest and give up half of his team for a guy that's not going to help him win a championship next year? I'm telling you now, the time Lillard's going to win a title is when Lillard is old and broken and he's not scoring 27, 28 points a game anymore, when he's now 16, 17 point scorer, maybe 15 points, and literally they're rotating him with another young player who's coming in and out the game for him. And the team already is kind of set. He's never going to win a championship. He's not a championship player. I don't care. If you don't like what I'm saying, then you know what? You can comment on it as well too. But you guys know, like I know, this is Stephen Marbury 2.0. He just ain't went crazy yet. But they're the same exact player. Stephen was great. Dame is great. But the reckless play and the me, and some more me attitude is not going to help at all. It's not going to move your team forward. It's not going to make anybody think that you're going to be this much of a better player. And he's really not upgrading anybody's roster once he gets traded for it at the end of the day. Because if he's going to perform the same way he does with the Blazers, you're going to get the same results as the Blazers. And smart teams in the NBA know this. The dumb teams are the ones that are up in there. Oh, well, you know, he's a talent. He's a talent. He's a talent. Man, the whole damn league is talented. All right? Let's cut that bullshit out. Seriously. You guys are just always literally just running to the next one. But they're not the next one. They're just a guy that is okay with being a ball hog. It's that simple. Everybody can play in the league. You know, it's dumb when people say that shit. It really is. And you know I don't like to cuss on the show because, you know, I'm kind of trying to, you know, it's almost like demo reels for the next level. And I want to show that, you know, I'm professional. But this right here just really grind my gears, man, is that a guy is so unappreciative of the opportunity of playing in the NBA because he's able to hit a shot from 40 feet out. I feel like you shouldn't tell these people that are paying you what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. If you're going to do all that, you can go set up your own league with LeVar Ball or somebody, dude, because you're not going to tell them what they're going to do. You're just not. It doesn't matter who you are. You're not going to tell these teams what they're going to do with you. They're going to trade you to where they want to trade you to. You don't get final say. You haven't earned the right to do that. They gave you $60 million. They're giving you $60 million a year. Shut up. Seriously. Just take your money and go ruin the next team. The Blazers, get rid of them and send them to anybody who's willing to offer you anything. I don't care. I send the guy to Siberia for all I care. But moving on, you know, I hate to talk about the Oakland boy like that as well, too, because I got nothing but love for Oakland and all that good stuff. But, you know, this guy just pisses me off. I don't care. And I'm glad I wasn't at the fight because I would have gave him I would have told him all this to his face straight up, dude, because it's just you're not that special, dog. It's just you're not at the end of the day. You know what I mean? You're a good player. I never thought, but everybody's always overhyped this guy, and I've never been that impressed. I'm sorry. I just have never been that impressed. I just always see loser at the end of the day. You won in life, but you're a loser in the NBA. It's that simple. And there's a lot of people like that. There's a lot. You know what I mean? Go join the club. And they're always the most talkative ones. Reggie Miller, you know, all these people. You know, all the talkative ass people, they're big losers in the NBA at the end of the day. Yeah, they were great. They were good. They went to the All-Star game and all that stuff, but they're losers. You know what I mean? Always got an opinion, but they can't ever talk to you about a game that a big game that they really won. You know, it's always a moment. You know what I mean? It's about, at the end of the day, it's about being the best possible player that you can be, but also being a good team player and also being a good role model for the kids as well too. I just talk like this because I wouldn't want to have a kid coming in there at 10, 11 years old acting like Dame Lillard. I'm sorry. I just wouldn't want to. And I wouldn't even want that kid saying I look up to Dame Lillard, to be honest with you. And I feel bad saying this, but it is what it is, and it's the truth, man. If you need to fix your attitude, bro, and you need to understand that you ain't bigger than the league and you ain't bigger than no team that's giving you $60 million a year. They just did that because they know what type of sensitive cat you are and how you be running back and forth talking to the media, bro. And you made it feel like you were the only thing that they had. You the only thing that wants to commit to them. There's a lot of players that want to play in Portland. They just don't want to play with you. It's that simple. We move on. All right. So we have Errol Spence. I'm talking about this. I didn't want to keep talking about this fight, but Errol Spence has many questions about his future. What is the best move going forward? Now, Errol Spence on Saturday night, he got absolutely destroyed. Okay. That's we all know that. But let's all kind of remember what it was 24 or 48 hours before that fight. Errol Spence was seen as the truth, as a guy that this was going to be his biggest moment in his career to prove that he was the best boxer in the world, hands down, no doubt about it, and that all the fruitions that they have been talking about for Errol for the last 6-7 years was going to finally come true with this Bud Crawford win. And none of that happened on Saturday night. He absolutely got embarrassed in the worst way, because it's really not even about the way that he got beat up in the fight. It was the reaction to how he got beat up in the fight, and that people literally just had amnesia all of a sudden. Did they forget that Errol Spence was the guy with the 3 belts that came into the ring? Did they forget that Errol Spence had fought nothing but champions since winning the IBF belt? You know what I mean? Like, he had one tune-up fight. That's it. And the rest of the fights that he fought against Mikey Garcia, who at one point was considered the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world in his prime. Also, a guy that was a lineal champion at the in the lightweight division. He was undefeated, and the fight had the same type of hype going into it as Crawford and Spence, but just a little bit more. It's been scaled off since because the result of the fight. But Errol absolutely one-sided him to go ahead and start the show. But also, he beat Kell Brook at the time when Kell Brook was the best welterweight in the world. So he knocked him off as well, too, to get the IBF belt. Then he was able to fight Sean Porter in a fight that was a classic. It wound up being a split decision and everything like that. But that goes to show you about the state of the game. You know what I mean? So you had a guy in Errol Spence that pretty much took on all challenges. He fought Danny Garcia, fresh off of an accident that could have took his life. Also, beating Sean Porter was huge because Sean Porter was at his absolute best when they fought. And Sean Porter is seen as one of the best welterweights to ever step in the ring as well, too, and pretty much has the holy grail of fighting every single one of these guys who were at the top of the division over the last 10 years. And so he has that right to say that, he fought Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, Bud Crawford, and he fought Kell Brook. He fought all of them. So, he's the you would say the Ken Norton of the group. So pretty much you have that in there, and then you also had him beat Ugas for the WBA title, and that was an absolute destruction. That might have been Errol's most dominant one-sided victory of them all in his championship run. And what that gave us was the idea that Errol Spence was going to walk into this fight and be absolutely immaculate. But people had to factor in that he had been off 15 months. And you just can't walk into a fight with a guy like Bud Crawford and not have a tune-up in 15 months to get yourself prepared for that situation. I really, truly felt that a lot of people are talking a bit too much because Errol just didn't accidentally win 3 titles, okay? Errol won those 3 titles fair and square. That's a tough feat to do. And I feel that in 2019, when I saw him fight Mikey Garcia live that night, that Bud Crawford would have been in trouble if he would have fought him next when he fought Sean Porter in September. Or say if he would have fought or say if there's no accident and he fights Bud in that April, he was supposed to fight Garcia. I think that he would have had a great chance of probably besting Bud in those fights because that was a different Errol Spence. That was an Errol Spence before he got into an accident. But the moment Errol Spence got into that accident, I didn't even think Errol Spence was going to continue his career because I thought he was almost dead. I thought he was going to be paralyzed. He wasn't. He just had some facial abrasions and he broke all of his teeth. But at the end of the day, though, I still knew that that was going to be a mental issue for him moving forward. But he blocked all that out, and he came back like nothing ever happened. And then the Pacquiao fight, the detached retina before the Pacquiao fight, that was huge in itself as well too. And really, at the end of the day, any doctor would have told you to retire. Just let it go. Detached retinas are not good for fighters because if the retina detaches during a fight, you can go blind. Didn't stop him at all. They went and did the surgery. He came back and he went back into training, and then he fought Ugas and whooped Ugas. So when it comes to Errol Spence, it was a fight of guys who were on the same level, and there were a lot of elements that helped Bud Crawford get the absolute dominant victory. But that doesn't mean it wouldn't be a good rematch. Okay. Great example. Great example. Sugar Ray Leonard got whooped by Duran in the first fight. They came back the second fight, he no-mossed him. Okay. So you have to look at those things in regard. Also, another thing, you saw guys who avenged these losses after getting embarrassed in their first fight with guys like, say, Chavez and Randall. So you can't just say, "Oh, Errol's done." Errol's not done yet. Errol's still one of the more exceptional fighters in the world. It's that simple. You know what I mean? And you guys are just, I know who you're really going against. You're trying to go against the promoter. You're trying to go against the people that put the fights together. They don't fight. All they're doing is putting on an event. They could care who wins or loses. They love these guys. They have great relationships with these guys. They're not over here making bets on the side on who's going to win the fight. I know that's what they want. Fans want the people that put these fights together to think like them. They don't. It's a business. So it doesn't matter what a fan says. It doesn't matter what a talking head like me says. Errol Spence is going to make the best decision for himself moving forward. And I say this to all the people talking about retirement, don't know pussies live here, and he's not going to be retiring. I know that for sure because Errol Spence, I know this man. He's not going out like that at all. So all you people that want him to retire so you can have a big laugh about Bud Crawford sending Errol Spence into retirement, it ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. You're not being helpful. You're being spiteful, in my opinion. Let this man make the decision that he wants to make for himself. He knows he has plenty more fights left in him. This was just an off night for him. We move on. He's going to terrorize the 154 division, which is not as great of a division as everybody thinks it is. It's just because they have Charlo there, and Charlo got challenged a few times by guys that were probably at their best when they fought Charlo. But I would say this, Spence will cook both of those guys, so it's not a problem. It's not a problem at all. So with that, all I got to say is that I wish Errol Spence the best. I hope that he sits back, rests and recovers and finds himself back in position as a world champion. And hopefully he does get his Bud Crawford rematch because there's a reason for a rematch clause. And this is the greatest way of getting a rematch. And we've seen guys get rematches that we felt that they didn't need to get. Let me give you another great example. Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield. Evander Holyfield won that first fight very convincingly. Everybody picked Evander, but nobody denied that they needed to get a rematch because they want to see their man get his revenge. And that's what the point of a rematch is. Give a guy a fair shake to get his revenge. And Bud Crawford understands that part. Errol understands that part. And I'm going to tell you like this. Crawford Spence 2 will be bigger than Spence Crawford 1. Okay? That's how I see it. Because you probably ain't going to be fighting for no belts. And then the trash talk can be a little different now. You know what I mean? And we can have things be a little different. And now Errol can come in there as a true underdog. And now the whole world is in love with Bud Crawford, even though they used to rag on every single fight he had, minutes after it was over. Now, all of a sudden, he's their favorite fighter. But it happens. That's how it works. Bernard Hopkins, they did the same thing when he beat up Trinidad. And now, all of a sudden, Bernard Hopkins was the best thing going, and he'll beat anybody in the world. It's that simple. But it is what it is. But I'm going to just finish it with this. Everybody who was already just throwing Boots out there and saying Boots deserves a shot, all that good stuff, I think that Bud would probably go ahead and sign off on that fight. But let's keep it real. He's going to embarrass Bud. I know Bud is a really good fighter, and everybody likes Bud a lot. I like Bud. Bud's a good guy. But not Bud, but I mean, I know people like Boots a lot and think Boots is the second coming of Jesus Christ himself or whatever. But the thing is, the guy ain't ever fought nobody, okay? And the way that Crawford just dissected the big fish, that just filleted the big fish, Errol Spence, I don't know, man. You can go ahead and take the fight. But if anybody's going to get really ridiculed if he gets beat the same way that Spence got beat, it'd be Boots, to be honest with you. So with that, we'll have to wait for them to announce some more fights and everything like that. Like I said before, we'll be done with talking boxing this week unless we get an announcement on a fight. And that's because I'm not going to be promoting Jake Paul and Nate Diaz, because that's not a boxing match. That's some novelty frat boy, drink a bunch of beers and have a good yell and scream at people, and that's about it. That's not a boxing match. That's just a money pit. That's just a way to steal your money. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take our first break of the show. And when I get back, we got some big news coming. Actually, nephew went ahead and blessed me with it, because I don't have my phone like right up to me showing notifications, and my phone didn't go and my computer didn't go off either. But we do got some breaking news in the last hours of the trade deadline. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Cappers.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune into Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, we're back with the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. Well, we just got ahead and we jump into it. But as I said, Justin Verlander, we got breaking news. Justin Verlander, surprise, surprise, has been sent back to the Houston Astros. Unbelievable. He signed a monster deal with the Mets because the Astros said that they couldn't afford him, that they wasn't going to be able to do that. And for the Astros to make their stretch run and their stretch push, they just went ahead and said, you know what? We got to do it. And they went ahead and they gave up some key farm players to bring back Justin Verlander to solidify that pitching staff once again. So pretty much now the Astros have turned back into the favorite in the American League. Sorry, Baltimore. Sorry, Tampa Bay. Sorry, Minnesota. But now you got to deal with the Astros. And pretty much it is what it is. But at the end of the day, though, you know that they still got 3 other teams chasing them in the West right now. So it's not as easy as it's been over the last few years with Justin Verlander. So they brought back Verlander. You know that they've been in the World Series with Verlander here the last few years as well, too. So it makes a lot of sense. You know, it kind of felt like everybody kind of felt like he would be going back there. You know what I mean? And it happened. So it is what it is at the end of the day. You know what I mean? But this was good because there was a lot of teams that were in on Verlander, and they would have had to give up a lot for a guy who's at the tail end of his career. Let's keep it real. Like, he did good with the Mets, but the Mets were really a team that was supposed to be a World Series type team, and they lived up to none of that. So, you know, now he gets back into a winning situation, but I don't really think that him and Scherzer really wanted to leave New York, but they did the favor for the Mets, who pretty much told them that if you don't leave now, we're going to get rid of you in the offseason anyway, because we've seen that we made a big mistake. We've done this before. We already know what the end result of this is going to be. So let's go ahead and get you guys to teams that can win right now. And we'll go ahead and we'll get we'll go ahead and pay this off. But we're going to get some assets out of this thing as well, too, because we're about to do a full team rebuild. I wouldn't be surprised if Lindor, Pete Alonso, those guys get traded in the offseason as well, too, because the Mets might just want to say, you know what, let's just go ahead and overhaul the whole thing and just go with the youth movement, because the veterans ain't doing nothing for us at this point. So that's that with that breaking news. Mets, Astros come up with a deal. Verlander is headed to what do they call it, Houston? Well, whatever they call Houston, but he's headed back to H-Town, and it should be a lot of fun. Nephew, thank you for the update as well, too. I'm much appreciative of it, because I did not see the actual stat come by. So thank you so much for giving me that news on the air, so I could go ahead and give you guys that news right now. But all in all, let's talk about the Dodgers, who are going into a 3-game series this week. Dodgers start a 3-game series versus the lowly A's, who are hapless but still dangerous. And I say that because it seems like the A's seem to step it up against some of the better teams in the MLB. They're not, they get to see some of the better teams in the MLB, and pretty much they're playing their best baseball. As the Braves, I think the Rays even got upended by them a few weeks back. I'm trying to think of another team that went in there and absolutely got cooked as well, too. But this was at home. They're not that great of a road team, to be honest with you. But still, you have to pay attention to them. You can't sit up in here and play them. You can't play down to their level. It's just that simple. And tonight, the Dodgers, are probably – I think the Dodgers are pretty much done. They did trade Justin Brewer earlier to the Rockies for cash considerations. So I'm thinking that if they are making a move, it's because they have some money tucked up. They just collected some money, and they might have needed that money to make the deal happen on the other end. But who would that deal happen with? They say that the Dodgers are very interested in Jake Flattery and Jordan Montgomery. Those guys are still on the Cardinals as we speak. I'm trying to look for some updates right now as well, too. I see nothing. But the Dodgers, though, coming fresh off of a 9-zip loss on Sunday to the Reds, they want to get back on a good foot, because this team has lost their last 4 out of 6. It's kind of surprising, because the Dodgers were so good coming out of the All-Star break. They hadn't lost the series in a bit. and then they wound up losing their first series earlier in the week. You know what I mean? Like, you really didn't feel that coming, with the Blue Jays, but it happened. You know what I mean? They wound up losing that series to the Blue Jays 2 out of 3. And then they come back around and they played the Reds over the weekend. They wound up losing 2 out of 3 there as well, too. And it's great because the Dodgers, they keep turning it into rubber matches, but still, at the end of the day, the Dodgers don't want to lose these series. They just don't. You know what I mean? And right now, they're 2.5 games ahead of San Francisco at this point. And they're 3.5 games ahead of Arizona and 8.5 games ahead of San Diego. So they're trying to put themselves in position where they can get a cushion. Now, will they be able to make some deals happen today? We will have to see. But if they don't, then the Dodgers have to understand that right now they got to stop messing around. They got to get themselves put into the position to be, a team chasing that title. And they are really, really starting to suck wind a little bit because you got the Giants fast on their tail. You got Arizona, who's been kind of inconsistent lately, but they're still here. Arizona getting off to such a great start has kept them in the mix regardless. So you do have a very tight race because after Atlanta is you see Atlanta 67-37. In reality, these teams are not that far behind from each other, any of them, because I can look at it right now. Dodgers, Cincinnati, San Francisco, Philadelphia, Arizona, Milwaukee, and Miami are literally 2 games behind each other. Okay, you got the Dodgers and Cincinnati with 59 wins. You got San Francisco, Philadelphia. You got San Francisco with 58, and then you got 4 teams with 57. That's Philly, Arizona, Milwaukee, and Miami. So you see the difference in that? There's not much of it. And if you go on, say, a quick losing streak like the Brewers just did or like the Diamondbacks just did, then you wind up, you're losing your last 7 out of 10, you're falling behind. So pretty much this tonight is a very important game because, yeah, you got a 30-77 team in the A's, but still, the A's are a team that, as I keep saying, are a dangerous bunch. And they have won their last 2 out of 3 coming into this month as well, too. But that was Colorado, but still, they do have some success against National League teams as well, too. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out, but we will move from there. I do see a good game coming tonight, though, with these two, and I truly do think that the Dodgers will prevail, to be honest with you. Lance Lynn actually gets the start tonight. I thought he started on Sunday, but he didn't. He's actually starting tonight. He's bringing in his 144 strikeouts as well, too, going against Ken Waldichuk. So I would think that this will possibly go over tonight, but you got Lance Lynn coming in here tonight, and what's fun about Lance Lynn is in his last 5 games, he's actually struck out 35. He's actually got 35 strikeouts, so that's pretty damn good, to be honest with you. That means he's averaging 7 strikeouts over his last 5 games. And that's exactly what the doctor ordered for the Dodgers as well, too. They're going to give him the run support that he couldn't get in Chicago, and that should be the difference in Lance Lynn's season as well, too. So let's go ahead and move forward. Let's talk about the MLB Tuesday night real quick. We got ourselves a full schedule tonight. Everybody is on the board. We got ourselves some really good games, and all these games are very important towards the playoff race as well, too. A lot of the games are. Some of them aren't, but some of them are very important to the playoff race. I would say about 90% of them. You know what I mean? So pretty much let's start with one of those races, and that's going to be between 2 of the best teams in the AL East right now, and that's going to be the Orioles, 65-41, and the Blue Jays, 59-48. Both these teams they're actually kind of should be in reverse spots, you know what I mean? Because Baltimore, as I keep telling everybody, they're so ahead of schedule right now. So that's why Baltimore is really like they've taken over a lot of people's imaginations right now in the AL. And it's crazy because I had them winning 78 and had them going over 78.5 wins. And we're about 14 games away from that as well, too. But they have been holding steady on the best record in the National League. Even though they have the same amount of wins as Tampa Bay, they have 3 less losses than Tampa Bay. So that's what puts them in position to be a game and a half ahead of them. Now you got the Blue Jays, who are in the playoffs right now. They are holding the last spot, and they actually have a 2.5 game lead against Boston at this point. So they're leading 3.5 against the Yankees. So they are in it to win it right now, pretty much. And this is a very important series. They lost yesterday to the Orioles 4-2. So they're trying to bounce back tonight in this game. So how am I putting this game together tonight? This is how I'm putting this game together tonight. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give this one out to the Blue Jays at -1.5 tonight. I like them to win by 2 or more runs. We got Ryu on the mound. And Ryu is a guy that they paid a lot of money for, who did very well with the Dodgers years ago. And when it was time for the Dodgers to resign him, they did not. And Ryu wound up going to Toronto and getting paid some big dollars. But he's been a little ineffective there as well, too, because he's been dealing with some injuries while he's been in Toronto as well. So this is actually going to be his debut for the season, I think. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But I do like the 1.5 tonight on the Blue Jays. And then we move to our next game, which is going to be a doozy. It's going to be this one right here. It's going to be the Guardians and the Astros. The Guardians coming into the game 53-54, Astros 60-47. They just acquired Verlander, so that was huge for them. The Indians really do have to start picking it up, because the Indians are still in playoff position, but they're in the position of making the playoffs if they beat out their rival Twins here in the Central, because they're actually a half a game ahead of them. But when you look at Cleveland in the actual playoff standings, they're number 8 in the playoff standings outside of the playoffs. So that would make them, in reality, like the 10th seed right now. So pretty much they're 2.5 games behind Seattle, and then they find themselves 6 games behind Toronto right now for the playoff spot. So they are very distant right now, but they are really playing for the AL Central Championship. But it's going to be a toughie tonight, even though you got an Astros team coming in here that's very confident, and they've been moving pretty good. They've won their last 6 out of 10. So that's something that works out very well for them. They got a great win last night as well, too. But, there's always excitement that's in the air when you make deals like this happen. But that didn't make me decide on this bet because I heard that I was already going to do this beforehand. But what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to go ahead and take the Guardians plus 155 money line as our dog of the day to kick off August, and let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. But this is the dog of the day, and we move from there. All right, we got ourselves the Astros. I'm not the Astros, but the Red Sox and the Mariners. This is a good one right here as well, too. This one will wind up being a game that comes down to, who wants it more. I think that we're going to get a lot of hitting here, even though we got a guy on the mound from Seattle who's pretty good at keeping things tame, but the weather is really heating up right now. And when the weather's heating up in a place like Seattle, the ball starts flying everywhere. So I really do like the over tonight with the over 8.5, over 8 in this spot. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But Red Sox, Mariners, this should be a good one. You got Bello going against Wilson. This should be a really, really good game. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. And when I get back, we will be talking those tickets. So you guys stay tuned. This is the Premier Sports Betting Show, the Primetime Angles with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash, and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right, we're back with the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. And pretty much let's go ahead and jump into talking tickets. We have ourselves some pretty good list going on today. And up first, we got the WNBA. The WNBA got the 20-1 late pick 4 here. This is going to be this is not going to be our first. It's going to be the let's get to we got a little kid in it. Sorry, WNBA is actually first. So let's go to WNBA. WNBA pick 4, 22-1. We have the over 163 with the Lynx and the Sun. And then we also have the Mercury money line tonight plus 210. I'm shooting for an upset there tonight. Also, we have the under 178 with the Dream and the Aces in Vegas tonight. And then we also end up with the Sparks at home with the plus 8. So hopefully we can get these bad boys home and get this 22-1 ticket cash. But if not, just single what you like and we go from there. So let's go ahead and move on to the primetime pick 6, even though you guys already seen it. I know that I was just showing off bets, but the primetime pick 6, here it is. We have ourselves a very fun group here. I think that the Marlins should be good today. We got Alcantara on the mound, so I like him with the minus 135. We also have the under 9 with the Tigers and the Pirates today, under the radar game. And we also have the over 8 with the Rays and the Yanks at the stadium. And then we have the Blue Jays, as I said, one of our highlighted games today. Very important game for the AL East. The minus 1.5 to the Blue Jays plus 175. Hopefully Ryu can go ahead and throw some Hadoukens and get us a nice win. And then we have the Cardinals, who are going to be at home with the plus 1.5 minus 160 today. If you like the money line a little bit more, don't hesitate and play that as well too. And then we have the Guardians as our dog of the day at plus 155, and this is going to wind up being a 67-1 ticket. So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out, and let's move on to the final ticket that we have. This is going to be the MLB Late Pick 4, and it's going to be worth 20-1 with this one. We got the Cubbies with the minus 1.5 run line plus 120. We also have the Rockies plus 155 money line at home, but they're not the dog of the day. But you could do this. You go ahead and say, you know what, I'm feeling great. I'm going to go ahead and put together my own dog pick 3 of the 1.5 with the Blue Jays, the 1.5 with the Cubs, the Rockies plus 155, and then the Guardians plus 155. That would be about I would say probably a 30-1 ticket for that 4-piece right there for you. So that could be something that works out pretty good for you as well too. And then we have the over 8 with the Red Sox and the Mariners, and then we have the under 7.5 with the Diamondbacks and the Giants. So that's going to be a 20-1 ticket right there, and that's going to be our group for the talking tickets. So we got ourselves a nice group here. We got 14 bets in place, and all of them have high value tonight as well too. So if you put 20 down on those 2-4 plays, then you get 400. You put down 20 on that 67-1, you get yourself $1,200. So you know what? In Pop, we trust. Let's go ahead and get the money. All right. So with that, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys are the absolute best. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll be talking some more NFL, more NBA as well too. Going to be getting into some college football as well tomorrow. And then, of course, we got the MLB, and we'll talk about all the big trades that are being made right now as well, too. We only got so much more time for it, but, you know, we'll talk about all the trades that were significant moving forward for the MLB season as well, too. So you guys make sure to tune in for all of that. And once again, this is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. And as I always say, bet with your head, not with your heart. The movement is moving, and I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.